At the age of 8, Sarah had an unusual gift. She could see things no one else could. Unbeknownst to her parents, she often spent her days in the company of her imaginary friend, Tommy. He was charming and funny, with tousled hair and an adventure-loving spirit. His presence filled the empty rooms of their small home, lighting up Sarah's world. Her laughter echoed through the hallways, and her parents smiled blissfully, believing their daughter was simply a typical child with an imaginative flair. But with each passing night, the line between imagination and reality began to blur. What started as playful games turned sinister. Sarah had been forewarned in the soft whispers of the night, "Don't let anyone else see me." Tommy would remind her of his specialness, the bond only they could share, a bond sealed between giggles and secrets. As summer faded, leaving the air crisp and weighty with anticipation of autumn, Tommy began to change. The sunlight caught his smile, but shadows grew in the corners of Sarah's mind. His laughter now had a chilling undertone, one that sent a shiver down her spine. "Why don't we play a new game?" he suggested one night, his voice a mere hiss. "Let's play hide and seek. But this time, no one can find you, ever." The next day at school, Sarah felt an urgency to speak to Tommy, drawing her deeper into the web he'd spun. During recess, she wandered off into the woods bordering the playground, a place she had never dared to explore without supervision. "You'll love it here," Tommy encouraged, his presence a tickle in her ear. The trees stood taller than she remembered, branches curling like gnarled fingers, whispering secrets of their own. "Hide," Tommy whispered, his breath bordering on excited. "I'll come find you." Without question, Sarah hid behind a large oak, its roots like serpents tangling in the earth. Time slipped away as she remained crouched, heart racing in anticipation. Minutes turned into hours, and the vibrant laughter of children faded. She could no longer hear the calls of her classmates searching for her. All that surrounded her were the haunting echoes of the forest, an eerie stillness swallowed by the silence that seemed to stretch on forever. "Tired of waiting?" Tommy teased, peeking from behind a tree. His eyes glinted, darker than before, a void where innocence once dwelled. "You like it here now, don't you? You can stay with me." Panic crawled up Sarah's throat. "I want to go home," she shouted, but the words fell flat against the oppressive silence. "Home? But this is home now," Tommy replied, his tone laced with mockery. "No one loves you the way I do." A laugh surged from him, high and unnatural, reverberating against the bark of the trees, twisting them into grotesque shapes under fading sunlight. A frost crept into the air as twilight descended, shadows scaling the trunks and creeping ever closer to Sarah. "No, you're not my friend anymore," Sarah screamed, adrenaline pushing her body to bolt toward the path back to school. "You're just a monster." His laughter rang out, mocking her desperation. "You can't run from me, Sarah. We're bound, remember? We've made our pact." Desperation surged, and an overpowering instinct to survive gripped her as she ran. As the branches snagged at her clothes and the cold air gnawed at her lungs, she visualized home, not her warm, inviting house, but a fortress against the darkness. Tommy gave chase, his footsteps echoing behind her, an impossible sound that sent a shockwave of fear racing through her. Suddenly, she burst into a clearing. Moonlight poured over the expanse like a silvery veil, illuminating the ground beneath her feet, freeing her from the tree's grasp. She stumbled, and the shock of realization hit her. Tommy was no longer chasing her, he was standing still, eyes boring into her with an intensity that made her freeze. "Sarah, you can't escape me. You need me," he said, his voice smooth yet laced with venom. "Remember your promise." "No," she shouted defiantly, tears blurring her vision. "I never promised anything." Time hung suspended as Tommy's expression shifted from amusement to something darker. Was it anger, or something colder, more sinister? "Very well, if you wish to sever our bond, then I shall take what is mine." A gust of wind swept through the clearing, twisting leaves violently about, and Sarah felt an overwhelming rush, as if the ground had cracked open beneath her. Tommy transformed, his features warping into a grotesque sham of the boy she once adored. Shadows spilled off him as if he were woven from darkness itself, embodying every fear she had ever known. In a burst of instinct, she turned to flee back to the forest's embrace, but strong arms wrapped around her waist, pulling her into the darkness. Just as she felt her consciousness waning, another voice pierced through the silence, her mother's calling, frantic with worry, echoing from the distance. It tethered Sarah back, and she willed herself upright, clawing away from Tommy's grasp. With a surge of adrenaline, she sprinted toward the sound of her mother, the forest retreating behind her. Just 5 steps from the edge, she turned to look back one last time. Tommy, back in boyish form, stood at the cusp of the clearing, a sinister smile spreading across his face. "You can't escape forever. I'll always be here." As she stumbled into the open arms of her worried mother, his laughter chased her out of the woods, an echo that would haunt her every single night, long after the darkness faded. The grip of fear tightened in her chest, knowing that some friends, especially imaginary ones, should never be allowed to stay.